Iranian ballistic missiles struck Israel overnight.
You have to wake up and recognize that this is the end of the unipolar moment. We're moving towards a new world.
As the world tries to make sense of the looming threat of World War III, take a look at this man and how calm he is, even how happy he seems to be at the helm of it.
We negotiate with bombs. You have a choice as we loiter over the top of Tehran, as the president talked about.
This is Pete Hegseth, a man who has been in the news recently again and again.
It kind of seems like a trend of Israel apparently pursuing their own objectives over U.S. objectives. I'm not sure if you agree with that.
The United States military controls the fate of that country.
I think there's a lot we can say about the way the world is being shaped. If we take a look at his tattoos. Okay, a very quick overview. As you likely know, Pete Hegseth is the current Secretary of Defense of the USA. That means he's responsible for policy, spending, and operations pertaining to the US military. This is a huge role. He previously served as an infantry officer in the National Guard and was deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo Bay, places that would no doubt shape his view of the world. Okay, so what about the tattoos? Just listen to this. All images are meaningful and hold significance in some way, but tattooed images, which are acquired slowly and painfully, and which permanently change the bodies of the people who wear them, perhaps are the most meaningful and the most significant of all. This is from the book Painted People by Matt Lodder. In this book, he goes through the human history of tattooing, and one story he mentions about Yu Fei, the great Chinese general, who has his mother tattoo onto his back the words, "Serve nation, utmost loyalty." As a fellow soldier and warrior, it made me think of Pete. Mr. Hegseth wears a few that are worth noting. He has the Jerusalem cross, a Christian symbol that I found traces back to the Knights of the Crusades, and also the phrase Deus Vult, meaning God wills it, a phrase commonly used by them too. The Crusades were a set of Christian military expeditions set to take control of Jerusalem and the Holy Land. They were incredibly bloody and mandated by religious leaders for the victory of Christendom, specifically over Muslims. But in more recent history, these icons have been adopted by other groups, including Brenton Tarrant. Now, if you don't recognize that name, that's the New Zealand shooter who used the term Deus Vult in his manifesto before killing 49 Muslims. I'm more interested in another tattoo he has though. This one, which is Arabic, and it reads the word kafir. This is my brother Zishan, a student and teacher in the language of Arabic. He also just woke up, so I could film him about this subject. I think he's suffering from hay fever too, just FYI. Thank you, Zishan. Take it away.
Yeah, so kafir would be the person who does those things. So it's just like the active participle. So the person who disbelieves, the person who shows ingratitude, or the person who, covers something. So a non-Muslim would never call himself a kafir of something because it would mean that that thing is true in the first place. Right. Why would someone go out of their way to show that they disbelieve in a specific religion? Because obviously if they belong to one religion, they disbelieve in all of the other religions. So if you've decided to show that you disbelieve in one specifically, you clearly have some animosity towards that specific religion and the people who subscribe to that religion.
And then we have to also mention Dajjal. We can't talk about a kafir tattoo and not mention the Dajjal.
So the full title, Al-Masih al-Dajjal, the fake Messiah or the false Messiah, the fake Christ, the Antichrist. This is a belief that exists in Al-Islam even prior to the revelation of the Quran, because we know that Muhammad, peace be upon him, mentioned that every Nabi, every prophetic individual that came before him warned their warned their nations about the arrival of Ad-Dajjal. Based on Islamic theology, Muhammad said that Ad-Dajjal, he will have ironically, he will have like a tattoo, right? Across his forehead. And it will have Kaf, Tha, Ra, these three letters in the Arabic language. When you put these words together, it's kafara, which means to disbelieve, or they disbelieve, or he disbelieved. But the point is that non-Muslims, they will purposely tattoo themselves with that to spite Islamic theology, right? And they will proudly wear like shirts and symbols that have the word kafir translated as infidel. Like, they wear this stuff proudly. And this is when the final signs of the hour will take place.
But there is another layer that most Americans are not aware of, but much of the rest of the world is highly aware of. And that is a religious layer. Now, Lindsey Graham is on tape saying to a gaggle of reporters, his bloodshot eyes, his puffy face, God knows what he's been doing, saying explicitly, this is a religious war. This is a religious war. Now, his motive in saying that, he's not here to answer the question. We can only guess. Is he trying to foment a religious war? Probably. He's an end times kind of guy. But it almost doesn't matter. He's telling the truth for once. This is a religious war, fundamentally.
So we can safely take this tattoo to be a statement specifically to Muslims, a statement that says, I'm not with you. And in the context of the other tattoos, the so-called Crusader ones, is this even surprising? He says in his book, enjoy Western civilization, freedom, equal justice under the law? Thank a Crusader. Over the course of the last decade, there has been a strong revival of Christianity in young people and also celebrities, influencers. This also seems to be the case with politicians, but there is also a rise and return to something being referred to as muscular Christianity. There is a clear body of Christians who espouse a medieval interpretation of Christianity, happy with military endeavor to fulfill certain prophecies.
I'm in a big rush.
I don't think it's much of a mystery about what kind of politician Pete Hegseth is. Symbols and icons generally tell us who people are and what they believe, but his actions speak louder than all of that. Looking at what's happening in the world seems to make a lot more sense when looking at it through that lens. Alright guys, what do you think? It does feel like there is a concerted effort to revive the sentiment of the Crusades. If you look on social media, if you look on YouTube, there certainly is an effort to try and create division between Muslims and Christians. And it's for that reason I actually didn't want to make this video. But then part of me felt like, I think we all have to do what we can to reject extremism. So I'd love to get your thoughts. It certainly does feel like there's some shady outside influence. I don't want to say who I think it is, but there certainly seems to be, to rile up tensions between Christians and Muslims. And so I think what this is an effort to do, and I hope this is what you take away from, is that as people of faith, whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, or any of the other faiths, or if you aren't religious, what you should take away from this is that we should try and unite as people to create a peaceful, loving society for all of us. Reject those who try and create division between us, reject those who try and cause conflict and war, because ultimately they do it for their interests, not ours. And so, yeah, if you enjoyed this video and you want to join the journey, then please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.